My first Gibson guitar was a 1992 Les Paul Studio Light that had this killer blue finish on it. It was super lightweight, it felt good to play, and most importantly, the thing sounded like a proper Gibson Les Paul. But the best part, I think it cost me $450 used, and that might be the steal of the century, all things considered. However, these days, you can still grab studios for pretty reasonable prices used if you're looking around, and if you're somebody who wants to purchase something new, Gibson are actually offering, in my opinion, more than a lot of the competition as far as what you get, the quality that you're actually going to receive with it. And I know that there's a lot of, stereotypes about Gibson on the internet, and I get called a shill sometimes, even though I don't even own more than one Gibson electric guitar, but I digress. I'm here to talk today about why I feel like these guitars are disrespected, and why if you're looking for a dual humbucker set neck instrument, this might be the best possible choice you can make. There are a few different versions of Les Paul Studios currently in production, but this is the one that we're going to be using for today, so I can make my case for pretty much all of them, because I feel like all of them are pretty good value, and also so you can hear what it sounds like. This is a Zounds exclusive figured top Les Paul Studio. I really like this guitar. The number one thing that you notice is the number one thing that you're going to observe when you take it out of the gig bag, and that's the fact that it smells like a proper American-made Gibson. It's got a full-on nitrocellulose finish on it. I love that. It feels good. It feels familiar. It's just something that I prefer, especially on a guitar like this. I don't want it to have a poly finish or some sort of like hybrid satin kind of thing. So big points in my book for that. And the other thing about the aesthetic, over the years, Gibson have been a little bit hesitant to make mainline production Les Paul Studios that have the binding on them. This guitar does, as you can see, and I think that's really cool. The only visual giveaways that this guitar isn't a full-on Les Paul standard is the lack of a poker chip around the pickup selector and the fact that you don't have binding on the body itself to match the binding on the fingerboard. But outside of that, the thing feels and looks like a Les Paul. It's got a full thickness on it. This does have the ultra-modern weight relief, so it's a relatively light instrument considering it does have a mahogany body on it. It weighs 7 pounds, 10 ounces. Moving on from the cosmetics onto slightly more important things, this is the number one point that I wanted to make as to why I feel like these are really, really great value, and that is they all come plecked. Every single American Gibson guitar does. I love that. I've had such great luck with the playability of every one of these guitars that I've had over the last 4 or 5 years, and some of which that I bought for myself, some of which that I've demoed. They've all had one thing in common. The fretwork has been great. Have I found minor inconsistencies with paint bleed? Yes. Have I seen some tooling marks on some of the guitars? Yes, I have as well. But when it comes to the stuff that actually freaking matters when you sit and you play the guitar, Gibson have really started to actually nail it, and they're nailing it consistently, and that's a big plus in my book. Now let's see what it sounds like. We're going to be using the Marshall Studio Vintage for dirt, and we're going to be using the Dr. ZZ Plus for some clean tones. Les Pauls are really versatile guitars, especially once you start working the volume and the tone controls. You can do a lot with these instruments. I know they get pegged as rock machines, but you can do so much more with them. One of my favorite positions is the neck pickup clean, and on this guitar, I really appreciate how articulate it is, especially once I started to add in a little bit of time-based effects on it. It just stayed clean, stayed articulate, stayed clear. That's all you can ever really ask for without any of the mud. But the thing that always sells me on a Les Paul, and it's the main reason that 99% of the people that ever buy a Les Paul, is because the bridge pickup sounds incredible with gain on it, and this guitar is no exception. A few months ago, I made a demo where I had just gotten a Gibson Les Paul Standard Light, and I was over the moon with it, and I decided I wanted to shoe out with a guitar that I also had at the time. It's a PRS McCarty 594 10-top core. Very expensive instrument. It was a gorgeous one at that, but they were pretty comparable until we got to the bridge pickup, and that's when it was just really apparent, and one of the biggest selling points, again, that Gibson has over everybody else, and that's just that raw bridge pickup from the factory. There's nothing like it. I love it. It's just edgy, and it's just the sound. And that's not to say that some of these other brands don't make awesome humbuckers in the bridge position, but if you want that sound, and nobody's doing a better job than Gibson, in my opinion. I realize I've been saying a lot of really positive things about this guitar and about Gibsons in general, but when it comes to the studios, there's one deal breaker for me that I really wish that they would go back to making different options for in the future sorts of models that they decide to make, and that is the neck carve. All of them come with the 60 slim taper. Is it unbearable? No, but I don't like it at all. Not compared to the 50s. I loved when they were offering, remember the tribute models? They offered a 50s model, they offered a 60s model, so there was something for everybody at an affordable price, but now you're kind of pigeonholed. If you want to get one of these guitars, you're going to have to get one that has the 60 slim taper, but to you, that might not be a con at all. And then the other thing is, I'm used to playing guitars like the Fender Telecaster. It is really difficult to get one of those to go out of tune, whereas with this one, it's a little bit more finicky, especially with the G string. But at the end of the day here, this guitar held tune really admirably, and all the times that I've sat and I've wanted to just play with it, even not on video, and just get a feel for it and just enjoy the guitar, it stayed in tune really well. The last thing I want to point out is the value of this guitar, because at the end of the day, cost is the deciding factor for a lot of people's purchases, and understandably so. $1599.99 for this guitar. I want to start in-house. Epiphone. The top tier Epiphone guitar is $1299 for one of the Inspired by ones. And what's so different about that? Well, first of all, it's made in China. It does have some American components onto it, like the pickups, which is really nice taste, and it does come with a hard shell case. Those are great things. But as far as the actual playing experience, I notice it immediately, and I've noticed it every single time. Yeah, they've come a long way, and I'm not trying to start a flame war in the comments section. This is just my own personal opinion here, but these are just nicer guitars to me, the American-made ones. Doesn't matter if it's one of these. It doesn't matter if it's a used Les Paul 50s Tribute that I picked up off of the rack at the local store. Every single time I've played an American Gibson back-to-back with one of the Chinese ones, I know which one is which pretty much immediately, and that's not to say, again, anything bad about those. Moving outside of brands and even outside of kind of body styles you want to talk about value, Fender. Fender's entry-level American guitars now are the same price as these. They come with polyurethane finishes. They come with synthetic nuts. They don't come with a plec on them, and the gig bag is nowhere near as nice as the ones that come with this. So that's an interesting kind of, not really apples to apples comparison, but considering, you know, they're the two biggest guitar manufacturers in the world, I feel like you're getting a little bit more for your money with the Gibson. And that leads us to the final one, which is, you know, a bit more of an apples to apples because the body styles are really similar, and that's going to be PRS. The entry level for an American-made Paul Reed Smith McCarty 594 single cut is in the S2 line, and it costs $2,399. That is an $800 increase compared to one of these guitars at $1,599.99. Now, I've had both. I've had several S2 guitars, including the double cut McCarty 594 and the single cut McCarty 594, as well as several other Gibson models. And I'm just going to try and be as objective as possible when I'm comparing the two of them to try and find how there can be such a price difference. Well, first of all, They both had nitrocellulose finishes on them. That's good. They both have binding on the neck, although the necks are different. These guitars, as I mentioned earlier, they're only available with the 60 slim taper, whereas the Paul Reed Smith guitars are only available in the pattern vintage for the single cut McCarty 594s. They both come with American electronics in them, including the pickups, which I think is a nice change. That's something that Paul Reed Smith has done in the last few years to kind of level the playing field a little bit, although, as I said before, again, I prefer the Gibson pickups a little bit more. Outside of that, the gig bags are just dead on comparable. So where is it? Where is really the justification to spend that extra money? Now, I know a few people that would argue the Paul Reed Smiths are going to be way more playable out of the box, to the extent that you could even take one out and gig it the same day that you can get it, and that's not something that they would feel confident with a Gibson. I have to say, though, based on my own experiences, and I've had plenty of both of these brands' guitars that are made in America, I think it's more of a wash. They just take different methods of achieving the results. With Gibson, they're using the plec, and I think that was such a smart idea because they're making so many guitars, and the fact that they're able to have more consistency, even on the entry-level American-made guitars like this Les Paul Studio, it's nothing but a positive thing. Whereas with Paul Reed Smith, I admire the fact that they're doing things the old school way. They do a great job of filing the nuts. They also do a great job with fretwork, albeit without the use of a plec machine. But all things considered, I only brought that up because I wanted to just give you a general overview. This wasn't meant to be PRS versus Gibson and PRS versus Fender and PRS versus Epiphone. It was more so to highlight the fact that at $15.99, this really is a great value. Just look at the competition and what you're getting for a similar price point, or in some cases, to get something similar, how much more you're going to have to spend on it. Thank you for watching today's video. For any more information about this guitar, any of the guitars I mentioned, doesn't matter if it's an Epiphone, a Fender, or a PRS, or something even crazy like an Ibanez, feel free to click on the link in the description. It'll take you to Zounds and check them out. I want to thank them for letting me borrow this guitar. I'm going to have to unfortunately send this one back, and hopefully we'll have something new and fresh going forward into the future. But appreciate you spending some of your time with me today, and I'll see you on the next one. Take it easy, everybody.